The meeting that sealed India's fate. Sounds pretty dramatic, right? Well, it absolutely was. We're talking about a moment in 1944 when two men sat down to decide the future of a subcontinent. This is the story of the Gandhi-Jinnah Talks and how they changed everything. So let's just pause on that for a second. Could one single meeting have saved a united India? I mean, think about that. The future of literally hundreds of millions of people hanging in the balance. It's almost hard to wrap your head around stakes that high. Spoiler alert, it failed. And not just by a little bit, it failed completely. So this explainer isn't some what-if story. Nope. We're going to dig into why. Why did it all fall apart so spectacularly? All right, so let's set the scene. This was a truly high-stakes meeting. We're talking about the last chance for a united India. To really get why it failed, you have to understand this wasn't just some friendly chat over tea. The world was at war. India's future was on a knife's edge. And this was basically a last-ditch Hail Mary pass to find some kind of common ground. And this pressure didn't just appear out of nowhere. It had been building for years. You go back to 1940, and the Muslim League passes the Lahore Resolution. That's the first formal demand for a separate Muslim state. Then you've got World War II just consuming everything, and the British are getting desperate for a political solution in India. So in July of 44, Gandhi himself writes to Jinnah saying, "We need to talk." And that set the stage for this absolutely crucial meeting in September. So you have these two leaders, right? And two totally different visions. At the heart of it all were these two larger-than-life figures. And what they had wasn't just, a simple political disagreement. It was a deep, fundamental clash of ideologies, of entire worldviews. And you can see that clash right here. Gandhi's vision, one Indian nation. Simple. His entire goal was to prevent partition and keep India whole. Jinnah's vision? The complete opposite. He was all in on the two-nation theory, the idea that Muslims weren't just a minority, but a separate nation that deserved its own country, Pakistan. I mean, their starting points were on different planets. And when you break it down like this, you can really see where the problem was. For Gandhi, the core belief was unity. For Jinnah, it was the two-nation theory. Gandhi's goal was to prevent partition. Jinnah's was to achieve it. Gandhi saw Muslims as a minority group within India. Jinnah saw them as an entire nation. See the problem? Every single point of discussion was destined to smash right into this wall. Okay, so you've got these two completely opposite positions. What on earth could they possibly discuss? What could a compromise even look like? Well, there was a proposal on the table. It was called the Rajaji Formula. Yeah, Gandhi didn't just show up hoping for the best. He brought a concrete plan, something drafted by Rajagopalachari. And this proposal, this Rajaji Formula, became the centerpiece of the entire conversation. So how did this formula work? Well, it was a step-by-step process. Step 1, everybody teams up to get independence from Britain first, a united front. Step 2, after independence, the Muslim majority areas would get to vote on their future. Step 3, that vote would decide if they wanted to separate from India. And finally, Step 4, if they did separate, there'd be agreements to cooperate on big stuff like defense, communication, and trade. On paper, it kind of sounds reasonable, right? A possible way forward. But it wasn't. To Jinnah, this wasn't a compromise. He saw it as a trap. And this, right here, is where everything started to completely unravel. Jinnah had a list of major objections, and they were non-negotiable. First and foremost, the formula didn't even acknowledge his two-nation theory. It treated Pakistan as this vague possibility for some time in the future after the British were gone. For Jinnah, that was a huge red flag. It meant he'd have to trust a Hindu-majority government to follow through. And then there was the voting plan itself. This district-by-district vote could actually break up core Muslim regions, leaving him with what he famously called a moth-eaten Pakistan. No way was he going for that. And this quote really nails the fundamental mistrust, doesn't it? Jinnah became convinced that Gandhi's real purpose wasn't to negotiate a deal for Pakistan. It was to prove that the whole idea was ridiculous. How can you negotiate when you believe the other person is trying to destroy your entire premise? There was just no common ground. So you can boil the entire conflict down to this one thing. Congress saw Muslims as a political minority within India. But Jinnah and the Muslim League, they saw Muslims as a separate nation that deserved its own country. That's it. That's the core conflict. And on that point, they were never, ever going to agree. So what's the inevitable results? With an unbridgeable divide like that, the talks completely collapsed. And this wasn't just a minor setback. This was it, the point of no return. The failure of this meeting basically set the subcontinent on a completely new and irreversible course. When the talks officially ended on September 24, 1944, you can measure what they achieved with one number: 0. Absolutely nothing. Not a single goal was met. It was a total, complete failure. And the fallout was huge. First, it proved to everyone that a compromise on a united India was just not going to happen between these two sides. Second, it made the Muslim League's demand for Pakistan look stronger and more justified than ever. Third, it cemented Jinnah's position as the one and only voice for Indian Muslims. And finally, it made the partition of India feel absolutely inevitable. The dream of united India pretty much died right there. So that leaves us with this one big question to chew on. When you look at these two fundamentally different visions, was partition truly inevitable? Was there ever really a chance for another outcome? Or was the fate of India sealed long before these two men ever even walked into that room?